Hi, and welcome to my channel, Opals. I'm an amateur opal cutter. I've only been cutting opals for 3 or 4 months now, but I'm starting to get a gist of what I'm doing here, and I found that there wasn't very much content for people who were interested in cutting opals for cheap, and a lot of the entry equipment looks really expensive, but you can actually do it for probably under $200. Get all the equipment at least. The opal's another thing altogether, but the equipment itself, fairly cheap. First things first is you'll want a Dremel. So a Dremel you can buy from any hardware store. Preferably you'll want a battery operated one because you will be working around water. And you do want it to have this rotary speed option. The higher the speed, the faster your stone's going to grind away. So if you have it on 4, it's probably going to grind away at a third of the speed as it would at 8. So it's definitely important that you have that variable speed, because when you get closer to the color bar, you want to slow it down or you don't want to accidentally grind it away. This is about $100 and it's going to be your main tool for shaping the opal. This is a face mask. You can buy these off Amazon for $15. You can get the filters N95s. Not very cheaply right now, but the filters are definitely needed for when you're actually cutting and shaping the opal, because the opal gives off silica particulates, and they're very fine, and you need the N95 to actually capture them. If you don't, it takes a very long time. It's a long-term condition, but you can develop something called silicosis, and that it's kind of like COPD, where you have difficulty getting a full breath of air. You'll want some little screwdrivers. This is just to replace your diamond disc on your Dremel. Dopping sticks, they're just pieces of a dowel. You can buy dowels at any kind of arts and crafts store, and you can just cut the dowel with your Dremel. Diamond bit works fine, and then you can just kind of level out the end so it's not at an odd angle. You'll want dopping wax. Dopping wax is another thing, very cheap. You can probably get 1/8 of a pound for maybe $20 on eBay. That'll last you months. Long time. So you don't have to worry about buying very much. You'll need a lighter just so you can put your dopping wax on the dop stick. Kind of self-explanatory. You can get stencils at any kind of craft store. You'll want something with ovals and circles just so you can do your cabochons and measure them up a little bit better than you can with your eye, especially when you're beginning. A well-shaped stone is always going to be more valuable than something freeform and something that looks kind of silly. But you do have to consider if it's worth getting rid of a nice opal, or grinding down a nice opal, grinding down the carat weight, so you can get a nicer stone. This is just sandpaper. You can get this stuff off Amazon, very cheap. These are for sanding blocks, I believe, but they work great for opal. You just use them once, you throw it away. You can get 180 of these for about $30, once again Amazon, and you can get varying grits. So when I buy these, I get 180 pieces for $30, and I get grits 240, 400, 600, 800, 1500, 1000, 2000, 2500, and 3000. The only grits that you really need that I've found is 240, 400, 600, 800, 1000, 1500. Anything over 1500 is a little excessive, but if you want to try and get a nicer polish, let's say you have a really nice stone, and I don't know if it'll work, but I mean, you can always give it a shot. I don't think it'll change the end result very much, though. This is leather for your final polish. You'll be just using this, rubbing your stone on the piece of leather. It's soft, and it just gives that the surface that an opal needs to get the final polish. This is what they use for the what are those things called? Cabbing machines. Just on the end, and then they'll cover it with cerium oxide, which is something else we'll be using. Cerium oxide, quite cheap too. This is a glass polish. Works very well for opal, and this is what all the professionals use. A ruler, just so you can take pictures of your stone beside the ruler so people can get an idea of the size. Calipers might be a better idea so you can get exact measurements, but I just haven't bought a pair yet. I wasn't really planning on selling my opals up until recently, so I never got around to it. This is just a little scale. This is kind of an optional thing, but just so you can see how many carats your final opal weighs. It's a good little device to have. Altogether, for all this stuff, you're looking at about $200, and this will get you from start to finish cutting an opal. You'll be able to either make a cab or a flat stone. Lots of the stones that you'll be buying for cheap as you're beginning will have quite a thin color bar, even sometimes like 1/2 millimeter thick. But you can still get a very nice stone out of a very thin color bar. But you do have to be careful that you don't grind that thing away. So I'll probably make another video just on cutting and how I do it with the Dremel in the near future. But like I said, just going through costs once again. You got a $2 ruler. This dowel stick, once again, this is a couple bucks. Maybe find these for 10 bucks. Mask complete. Maybe not right now with the coronavirus going on, but a complete mask with the filters and the face piece, you're looking at $30. I believe medium is basically a one size fits all, I believe. I was reading that, don't quote me on this, do your research before you buy this, but I believe that medium covers 80% of all people's faces, unless you have a very narrow face or like a very, very large face. That should cover you and have a good seal. Dropping wax, $10-15. Lighter, $2. Cerium oxide. The powder's cheap, maybe $10-15 for a couple bags. A little bag like this is all you really need. I only use maybe a couple pinches of this stuff on the leather to polish an opal. This is actually deceivingly expensive. Maybe you can find them from China or something for cheaper, but I think I spent $20 on this stencil. Kind of a rip-off. I bought this little scale on Amazon for $20. If you're looking at a scale, it's always nicer to have a more expensive scale because you'll want exact weights of your stone. My scale rounds to the nearest 0.05 carats, which isn't bad, but I'm sure people would like 2.97 as opposed to 2.95. So sandpaper, once again, Amazon, $15 for 90, $30 for 180. I forgot to mention about these diamond bits, I believe. These are very important. This is just a diamond saw blade. They're quite small. They're about the size of a quarter, but I use this from start to finish. You're only going to be able to cut smaller medium stones, but unless you're investing like an arm and a leg in your first bits of opal, you should have no problem. I can cut probably stones up to about 1 inch by 1 inch. So I can cut the majority of stones with this and get a really nice finish. Just using this as the main shaping tool on the Dremel. And I guess that's it. That's all you'll really need to start cutting opal. You can get other tools for carving. I'm not big into carving yet. I haven't got really stones that have looked like they needed to be carved. But if you do, you'll want some good quality diamond bits. And those, you're probably looking at spending at least $50 on. I bought some cheap ones just to test out. They did not work very well. Other than that, that's about all you'll really need. Thanks for visiting my channel. Thanks for watching the video. I will be going into more depth in the future about how to actually, or the steps that I take to actually cut opal. So if you want to keep learning about how to cut opal on the cheap with not very much equipment, then feel free to subscribe, and I'll be putting out more videos in the future. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed my first video. Bye.